The Big 12 season has finally arrived as the Cowboys travel to Austin to take on Texas.
And from tennis to golf to bass fishing, we catch you up on all the Cowboys and Cowgirls already in full swing this fall. All that and more on this edition of the Poke Report. Welcome to the Poke Report. I'm Curtis Quillen.
And I'm Amelia Henderson. Week 3 of college football was filled with top 25 matchups. Here's a quick recap of the results. Top-ranked Ohio State got all it could handle from Northern Illinois. The Huskies made the fans sweat in Columbus until the final whistle, but the Buckeyes squeaked out with a 20-13 win to stay undefeated.
Much to our dismay, that good fortune was not shared with number 2 Alabama. They fell to number 15 Ole Miss 43-37 in Tuscaloosa, thanks in large part to one of the luckiest touchdowns in college football history.
Staying in the SEC, number 13 LSU put a beating on number 18 Auburn, led by Heisman frontrunner Leonard Fournette, who rushed for a career-high 238 yards and a trio of touchdowns. Bayou Bengals rolled 45-21.
Looking at other top 25 scores, number 10 UCLA held off number 19 BYU. Stanford bounced back to upset the number 6 USC Trojans on the road. The 8th-ranked Fighting Irish survived without Malik Zaire as they beat 14th-ranked Georgia Tech in South Bend.
And now we turn our attention to the team that's now ranked number 24, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. OSU took on UTSA in their final non-conference game of the season. Jordan Bland has more on the Pokes and their performance.
The Cowboys put up 69 points, but the defense won the game. The Pokes not only finished up non-conference play against the University of Texas San Antonio last week, but they did it in the best way possible, dominating their opponent. The Cowboys would jump out to an early 17-0 lead after causing 3 turnovers in the first quarter alone. The first coming from redshirt cornerback Mike Tavius Jones, which led to a 6-yard touchdown recovery by linebacker Devontae Everett. The second coming from safety Jordan Stearns, which would lead to a 26-yard touchdown by Chris Carson. Quarterback turned cornerback Ramon Richards wouldn't let the early struggles of UTSA go to waste either, as he was able to record his first interception of the season, allowing kicker Big Rogan to chip in his first field goal of the day from 24 yards out. The Roadrunners would regain their focus at the beginning of the second quarter, as back-to-back 12-yard plays would lead to UTSA's only touchdown of the first half. Although the Cowboys would go on to force 4 more turnovers, including this interception by Kevin Peterson, defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer was still not completely satisfied with his defense's performance.
You know, this game last week was probably the worst game we've had technically. And so we have a lot to look at that film and see how, it's never quite as good as what you think it is.
The Cowboys would go back to work, though, as a 38-yard reception by Brandon Shepard would put the offense back in business to set up Juwan Seals for his first touchdown of the season, allowing the Cowboys to go in the tunnels with a 31-7 lead. The offense went right back to work coming out of the break, as Mason Rudolph was able to shake off the defenders and connect with David Glidden on a 46-yard touchdown. The defense may not have forced any turnovers in the third, but they didn't give up any points either, as a Jimmy Bean sack would lead to an eventual missed field goal by UTSA. OSU went into the fourth quarter with a 41-14 lead as they went on their way to force their last 3 turnovers of the day. Off a Zach Seiner punt, OSU jarred the ball loose from UTSA's Derek Dick, allowing QB2 J.W. Walsh to throw a Marcel Aitman his 3rd touchdown reception in 3 weeks. On the ensuing kickoff, things would take an oh-so-familiar turn as new returner Brett Winnigan would lose the ball from a hit by Chris Hardeman. Later in the fourth, walk-on transfer Raymond Taylor would score his first touchdown in a Cowboys uniform after a 58-yard rush. The Pokes would force their 7th and final turnover that Derek Robertson would take to the house, giving the Cowboys a final score of 69-14, forcing the Roadrunners to throw in the towel and wave the white flag. The Cowboys hope to carry this momentum on to this afternoon's game as they head to Austin to face the Longhorns. For the Poke Report, I'm Jordan Bland.
The Cowboys seem to be fired up and ready for conference play. OSU looks to improve their 4-5 conference record from last season.
But it's not just football season in Stillwater. Cowgirl Golf finished atop the standings at the Schooner Fall Classic in Norman last weekend. OSU won the team title, led by Chi-Min Chen, who shot 9 under on the weekend. She was only 2 strokes behind Yupaporn Coimpecorn of Kansas, who won the individual title. Linnea Johansson also cracked the top 10 for the Pokes, finishing in a tie for 6th at 4 under. The Cowgirls got a couple weeks to prepare for the Windy City Collegiate Classic. That tournament begins October 5th in Chicago. And last year, OSU took 3rd place. Switching from the putter to the racket, tennis season is in full swing for both the OSU men and women.
An early season tournament has begun. We asked Matt McGann to take a look back at OSU's tennis team from last season.
A year is more than just the turn of the calendar. It represents progress, new beginnings, and bright futures. At the end of each year, you look back using the previous year as a base for the next year. And if Cowgirl tennis is even close to last year's record-smashing season, OSU will once again make it to the NCAA tournament looking to match a historic appearance. OSU made its first big splash in 2014, where they hosted the ITA Regional Championships for the first time. In the end, it was an all-Cowgirl matchup in the singles and doubles championships, dominating the rest of the field.
Well, they competed well. I know that it's not easy playing your teammates in matches like this, so it put a little bit of interesting element there and extra pressure, but the girls handled it well all weekend, and just proud of the entire team.
However, a duo of Cowgirls were not done there. Then sophomore Victoria Lushkova and then junior Kelsey Lorente advanced all the way to the national semifinals, losing to number 2 seeded Auburn. The two would top out at number 3 in the national rankings, breaking a school record with the spring campaign still left to go. Katarina Adamatovic wrapped up the Cowgirls season the following day, winning the Dickie V Clay Court Classic in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. The spring season is where Cowgirl tennis went from great to elite, going up the ladder in rankings to number 8 in March of 2015, which was the first top 10 ranking since 1990. The Cowgirls found themselves as the number 3 seed heading into the Big 12 tournament.
This historic regular season for our program, getting as high as 8 in the country and being a solid top 10 team pretty much the last half of the season.
Unfortunately, the Cowgirls lost in the semifinals to Texas Tech, but found a silver lining with the overall performance this season. Not only were they heading to a 4th straight NCAA tournament, they would be a first-time host for the first and second round of the tournament. After shutting out Boston, OSU was tied with Arizona State 3-3, and their fate was in a sophomore's hands. With the games at 5-5, Leshkova prevailed to set OSU in a heavyweight matchup against the Florida Gators, thrusting the Cowgirls into the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1996.
It's just amazing. So proud of this team. This was our goal from the beginning of the season, to host and make it to the Sweet 16, and we did it. I think playing Florida is going to be a tough match. We played against them a lot this fall. I think we had some success. I know we had some success against them.
Yet there was no success this time, however. The Gators swept the Cowgirls in the Sweet 16, ending OSU's historical season. 2015 entailed a list of phenomenal feats that Cowgirl tennis accomplished. The program reached its highest team ranking ever at 8 in the nation. OSU had many new experiences as well, which included a first ever appearance in the ITA Indoor Championships, hosting its first ever NCAA regional, and their first trip to the Sweet 16 in nearly 20 years. OSU would take out 14 ranked opponents, including the eventual national champ Vanderbilt. In the always heated Bedlam meetings, the Cowgirls shut out the Sooners both times in conference play. OSU would rank 6th in national attendance, where the Cowgirls defended the Michael and Ann Greenwood Tennis Center extremely well, compiling a 13-1 record. Of their 23 wins this season, 15 of them were shutouts, which meant the Cowgirls blanked opponents 65% of the time. That means witnessing a shutout victory by Cowgirl tennis is 10% more likely than a Dax Garmin completion last year. Head coach Chris Young received the 2015 ITA Central Region Coach of the Year after leading the Pokes to a final rank of 12 to end the year. Victoria Lushkova and Katarina Adamatovic were named all Big 12 selections, and the duos of Lushkova and Kelsey Lorente and Adamatovic and Vladika Babic received all Big 12 honors as well. Lorente won Big 12 Newcomer of the Year. Lushkova was named Co-Big 12 Player of the Year, along with her second straight All-American selection. This is the first time since 1986 and 1987 that a Cowgirl received 2 All-American nominees. She is only the second Cowgirl ever to do so. So what is expected after perhaps the greatest women's tennis season the school has ever seen? The Cowgirls are reloading with 4-star prospect Elise Gracie out of Ocean Ridge, Florida, along with Sofia Blanco, a 5'11 standout from Argentina. Rounding out the incoming freshman class is Alexis Lucas out of Bixby High School. She is the lone Oklahoman on the roster. As the season progresses this year, keep a lookout on OSU superstar Victoria Lushkova. She will be chasing her 3rd All-American selection along with progressing toward that coveted national title. If she were to win it or even get there, she would be the first Cowgirl or Cowboy to ever achieve the honor. The Cowgirls make their first home appearance on October 15th, hosting the ITA Central Region Championships. The Cowgirls look to make it a three-peat in the singles, led by none other than Victoria Lushkova. For the Poke Report, I'm Matt McGann.
Oklahoma State tennis appears to be on the rise, with both teams having tournaments this weekend.
And when we come back, we'll sit down with Coach Jay Udwadia talking men's tennis.
And we'll also give you an up-close and personal look with competitive bass fishing.
This is the Poke Report on O State TV, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Poke Report. We're outside the Greenwood Tennis Center. I'm Curtis Quillen alongside Amelia Henderson. One tournament, one win for OSU tennis in Napa. After 2 second-round appearances in the NCAA tournament, the ceiling is high for the Cowboys. Jared Stafford sits down with Coach Jay Udwadia to see just how high.
The Oklahoma State men's tennis team started off the 2015 season with something to prove, winning the Silverado Invitational in Napa. OSU has made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament back-to-back years, and now they're hungry for more. Head coach Jay Udwadia says his team is talented enough to go further this year.
Good process of trying to, get better and better each year. We're 3 individual points away from 16 last year, so you guys know we can do it. We're right there. We just gotta play. Go into the spring confident, healthy, and I think we have a team that can go a little bit further.
Udwadia is in his 4th year of coaching the Cowboys, bringing new life to a program that was declining fast prior to his arrival to Stillwater in 2012. While the Pokes play exceedingly well at home, posting a 15-2 record last season, it's the national stage that presents the biggest challenge.
More maturity on this team, which I think will help. We were a little young last year, but it's always tougher to play away from home. There's no doubt about that. I think if we just do the right things this fall and develop and get a little bit of maturity going, I think we'll take care of that come this spring.
The 2015 season is well underway, and it seems as if the Cowboys plan to make a splash. For the Poke Report, I'm Jared Stafford.
Promising things are in store for the Cowboys tennis team. Next stop, the Cajun Classic in Lafayette, Louisiana.
The Cowgirl Softball team started its fall season on Friday, beating Kelly College 8-1. They had their second game on Wednesday against NOC Enid at home.
Now we're going to take a look at one of OSU's lesser-known sports. The bass fishing team competes in either feast or famine. Courtney Brown spends a day on the water and gets hooked on bass fishing.
It's going to be a hot day for 16 Oklahoma State fishermen who are up bright and early testing the waters on the Vertigus River for bass at the Okie Challenge Series in Coweta, Oklahoma. This is the 7th year OSU fishing team has been competing in collegiate tournaments. It's a partnership sport with the team element, for each fisherman team competes against other Oklahoma State teams. Sophomore Bates Inmeyer says having a partner like Eric Hanna helps him more than just fishing.
Help you mentally too, if we're not catching them for a while, if Eric's struggling or I'm struggling, we kind of give each other some words of comfort, and it kind of helps out a little bit.
The team spends on average $200 to $700 per person to compete in each tournament year-round. The team gets some of its money from OSU, but most of the money for entry fee and fishing equipment comes from fundraising and out of the fisherman's own pocket. But when you love the sport, fishing is worth so much more.
Adrenaline just keeps going and just get so happy. And when you're having a good day, it's just, you can go forever and ever and ever.
The best time to reel in a bass is from the get-go, once the tournament starts. Senior Chase Revenspies says the weather plays a major part of how active the bass are.
When it's hot outside, they're pretty lazy. They don't like to move. They don't like to eat as much. That's why the morning and the afternoon bites are the best, when it kind of cools down.
To help find the hiding places, the team will pre-fish the day before each tournament and learn the personality of the water. The team will look for different types of structures such as laydowns and brush piles, fish patterns, changes in the water color, and the depths. Once the partners figure out where they want to fish, it's trial and error to see what kind of action bait the basses are feeling that day.
It's a gambler ugly yachter. Gives a shad-like pattern and it shimmers down. It just makes it look like a bait fish they're waiting on. It is a Gene LaRue bifflebug. This is more like a crawdad. These things flicker in the water and look like craws.
When the team decides where to fish and what bait to use, it's time to cast the line. There are several different techniques to cast a line, but most of the OSU teams used flip and pitch for this tournament.
Do a little flip of the wrist. And when I take that lure, I drop it, I flip the wrist, and it gives us a forward motion and goes right to where I try to point at. So if I come right here, I go just like so, lands right by that bush.
Each tournament has different rules, but in the Oki Challenge series, each bass must be at least 14 inches, and the team can only keep 5 of the legal bass sizes. If the bass is too small, it gets tossed back in the water. When it's the legal size, it is kept behind the boat in live wells that have oxygenators and pumping water all day long.
And these are called coal rings. So when you're tournament fishing, if you stick this in the bottom of their mouth, if you catch a bigger fish, you can easily find which one's the smallest one by color.
When the time limit is up, the fishermen bring their boat in for the weigh-in. Each fishing team will bring their catch from the day in bags and will weigh all the bass to determine who placed. In Meyer and Hannah won 7th place out of 28 teams and weighed in at 9.97 pounds. For the Poke Report, I'm Courtney Brown.
OSU bass fishing will compete in its next tournament October 4th at Grand Lake in Miami, Oklahoma.
And when we come back, we'll catch up with Cowgirl Soccer. And then after that, you can watch me beat Curtis again in this week's college football pick'em. This is the Poke Report on O State TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Poke Report outside the beautiful Greenwood Tennis Center. I'm Amelia Henderson.
And I'm Curtis Quillen. We now turn our focus to OSU Soccer, who got back in the win column last week against Arizona State and at UMKC. Lucas Messina recaps their week.
After struggling a week ago in Florida, the Oklahoma State Cowgirls looked to build off of their win against Gonzaga and spark up a winning streak. But it would have to start up against 18th ranked Arizona State. The Sun Devils came into the game with a 4-1 record, but that didn't faze the Cowgirls. In just the second minute, Courtney DK sent the ball to Delaney Kiley, who powered a shot off the crossbar and over the line to give the Cowgirls an early 1-0 lead. It was Kiley's first goal of the season. It was then in the 21st minute, the Sun Devils responded when Callie Farguson shot it low to the near post, tying the game at 1 apiece. Then Mother Nature joined the pitch. Lightning in the area delayed the game with 10 minutes and 27 seconds remaining in the first half. After the 40-minute delay, the game continued, and so did Arizona State scoring.
Whoa.
Just minutes after the delay, a penalty on Loren Tressfield set up an ASU free kick. Lucy Lara took full advantage, striking from 22 yards out, giving the Sun Devils their first lead of the game. After some second half adjustments, the Cowgirls kept rolling and didn't stop. In the 58th minute, Loren Tressfield went up in traffic off a free kick from Christina Jean-Charles and sent a header to the back of the net to tie things up once again. And to make things better, it was her birthday.
I'm so excited. I scored. It's my birthday today, so I'm so happy right now.
Just over 10 minutes later, Courtney DK sent the ball across the box to Anna Beffer, who tapped it in for the game-clinching goal, ending things with a final score of 3-2. OSU's 3-goal performance against Arizona State tripled the amount of goals the Sun Devils had let up all season. This was not only OSU's first win over a nationally ranked opponent, it was also Coach Colin Carmichael's 150th career victory in his 11th season with OSU.
I didn't even know until after the game, but it's nice. I mean, anytime you do that, it means you've had some great players and great teams and won a lot of games. So, you know, I don't really look at that stuff as much. We just really think about winning the next game.
Carmichael looks for win number 151 2 days later as the team traveled to Kansas City to take on the UMKC Roos. Things started out just as planned when Anna Beffer intercepted a bad touch and sent the through ball to Madison Mercado, who struck it low to the near post to give the Cowgirls a 1-0 lead. Mercado worked her magic again in the second half as she weaved through the UMKC defense and sent a shot across her body, once again beating goalie Nina Zayanos for her second goal of the game. The Roos would score their lone goal in the 86th minute, but it would not be enough as the Cowgirls rolled to their third straight win.
Should be sky high right now. We've played some really tough games and we've come through them pretty well, and you know, played some really nice soccer at times over the weekend. So we're in a good place right now. We feel good.
OSU looks to extend their winning streak on the road when they open Big 12 conference play this week against Baylor and TCU. For the Poke Report, I'm Lucas Messina.
The Cowgirls opened up Big 12 play last night at Baylor, and they'll be at TCU tomorrow. Their next home match will be next Friday against Texas Tech.
And the Cowgirls bench has a good variety of both domestic experience and foreign perspective, starting with Coach Carmichael. Max Gross explains how a certain French player brings a unique experience to the pitch.
Sophomore midfielder and defender Lauren Tresfield traveled nearly 4,800 miles from her home in Paris to Stillwater, bringing her unique style to the Cowgirls.
Here is more physical, and in France it was more technical. I like here better because I'm a physical player, and here is like a lot physical. So.
Coach Colin Carmichael, an expert international recruiter, discovered Tresfield while at a European showcase event in Paris.
She's very strong. She brings a big physical presence to the field. When I went to recruit overseas, we were specifically looking for a player with those qualities and saw Lauren play in Paris and thought, wow, perfect.
Tresfield brought great experience to the pitch for the Cowgirls, playing for a prestigious French club and even earning 2 caps for the under-17 national team.
It was not expected, so I was really excited when I knew that I was going to be on the U17 team. It's a lot of experience. I was really proud of this.
Carmichael is confident that this national team experience helped Tresfield adapt to the college game in the U.S.
She played with the U17 national team, and I know she played a couple of games and went to a couple of camps with them, so that's a really high level. So that's going to help anybody.
Tresfield needed to adjust to a new culture, which included a new language and different ways to get around.
Yeah, it was a big difference because in Paris I'm used to take like public transportation every time, and I came here and I'm like, where is the bus? Coming from France to here, it was really hard to adjust. Even at school, like the classes was really hard to understand. I was lost.
Sophomore Katie Howard recognized the trouble her new teammate went through trying to assimilate.
When she first came, it was really hard to understand what she was saying. But then like the more that she's around, like now I can understand her perfectly.
Now in her second year in Stillwater, Tresfield is starting to get into a comfort zone.
And I can understand people better, even calling on the field. It's much easier than it was at the beginning.
Her coach also noticed an improvement in her language skills.
Yeah, you know, when she came here, her English wasn't the best, but it's gotten a lot better this year. You know, sometimes we try to tell her to track runs or wanted her to do certain things, and, you know, it might have taken a few minutes for her to understand what we said.
Carmichael notes that a different style of soccer is played here in the U.S., something else Tresfield needed to get used to.
She had to adjust to us. You know, the game over there is a little bit slower. It's not quite as physical, not quite as fast. And so I'm sure for her it was a little bit of adjustment.
Tresfield needed no reminder that last Friday's contest against Arizona State was on her 20th birthday.
I told to Lana before the game that I would have to score today because it was my birthday.
And in the 58th minute, with the Cowgirls trailing 2-1, Tresfield's birthday wish came true.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I scored. It's my birthday today, so I'm so happy right now.
The Cowgirls set up Tresfield's goal in last weekend's win over Arizona State on a free kick taken by Christina Jean-Charles. The key for her was to kick the ball in the air into the 6-yard box so that Tresfield can head it into the goal. She may be far from where she grew up, but Tresfield has definitely made a home here in Stillwater. For the Poke Report, I'm Max Gross.
Well, it's that time of the show. It's time for our weekly college football picks. You caught me.
I did.
You picked LSU like a genius, might I add, and we both went wrong with Alabama. So let's start it off. Number 18, Utah, at number 13, Oregon.
Well, I think Oregon's just the better team, so I'm going to have to go with the Ducks.
You know, the way this series has been played, I just don't see the Ducks losing at home. UCLA travels to Tucson to play Arizona, and the Bruins are coming off a 1-point win against BYU.
Well, I just really don't think Arizona can come out with a win without the healthy Scooby Wright, so I'm going to go with UCLA.
I think Rich Rodriguez needs to give Wright a Scooby snack to get him healthy. I think Arizona is severely overhyped. Give me UCLA. TCU travels to Lubbock to play Texas Tech in a battle of the unbeatens, but the Red Raiders are coming off a win at Arkansas.
Well, TCU is also bringing back 10 of their 11 offensive starters. I think that's going to play a huge role in that game. I'm going with TCU.
I think Heisman candidate Trevon Boykin is the answer, but I don't think their offense scores 82 points again. Give me the Frogs. And finally, our game, Oklahoma State at Texas, and the Longhorns have been nothing short of a disaster this season. Could be a chance for the Cowboys to make a statement win, you know, in case that 55-point win against UTSA last week didn't do that.
Yeah, and Curtis, I think you and I can both agree on we think the Cowboys are going to come out with the win.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
That does it for us this week. For all of us here at the Poke Report, I'm Curtis Quillen.
And I'm Amelia Henderson. And as always,
Go Pokes.
Thank you for watching.